I moved to Brisbane over a year and a half ago, and I have to be completely honest about something before we go any further. There were moments where I genuinely worried I had made a mistake. Not in a dramatic, my life's falling apart sort of way, but in a very quiet and subtle way that made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Because on paper, everything looks great here. It looks like you're living the dream. And that's what makes it harder to talk about with other people. Because there are parts of living here that no one's actually going to tell you in a conversation. They change how you think, how you feel, and even how you see yourself. And depending on where you're at in life, those changes can feel a little bit scary. So let's get into it. Hey mate, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Sam, a British actor documenting my journey of rebuilding life in gorgeous Australia. So point number one, the heat isn't just hot, it's subtropical. Now, I didn't listen to anyone back at home when they said, Sam, you know it's going to be really hot there. I said, yes, mate, I've been to Spain before. I think I can handle a little bit of heat. Well, the heat isn't quite the same in southeast Queensland. It is like living in a tropical rainforest. The humidity is enough to make any girl's freshly curled hair fall out in minutes. I know because my wife has been through that struggle more times than I can count. But there was this moment when I first got here, when I'd spent a few nights here, got a bit cozy, stepped outside my front door for my morning run, and the heat just hit me like a sauna had a baby with a steam room. Weird image. Got back after a cheeky 5k, and oh my word was I a puddle on the ground. So what no one will tell you before you move to Brisbane is this sticky humidity is a constant presence. It's like that annoying mate who you let stay over one night and he just won't leave. So you're probably thinking, why don't you just move back to the UK, you whinging pom? I'll let you into a little secret. I actually love it. Yes, the humidity can suck, but honestly, I rather live in a subtropical climate 90% of the year than spend half of my year in freezing, bitter cold temperatures with a deficiency in vitamin D. And just a quick one, I noticed that over 87% of you who regularly watch these videos aren't yet subscribed. So if you are enjoying this, consider hitting that subscribe button. Really helps to support these videos and keep them coming. Number two, Brisbane is a much quieter city than you think, and this can mess with you. Now, a lot of people move to Brisbane thinking, oh, it's a slightly cheaper Sydney, but that big Apple hustle and bustle feeling that you might get in New York or in London, the big smoke, I'm gonna get that in Brisbane, and then they are very quickly disappointed when they get here. I was expecting the hustle and bustle that you get in the tube station, people not being very friendly, people barging into you and not apologising for it. And then I arrived to Brisbane and I'm walking through a gorgeous beach in the city centre with skyscrapers around me. I see people running to help others in need, like if someone falls over. And the CBD part of Brisbane, you know, the sort of touristy hotspot, it's actually really small. Most of Brisbane is quite suburban. So you go into the suburbs and oh my word, the architecture of the houses for a start is amazing. I'd never seen a Queenslander house before. And then people say hello to you as you walk down the street. There's gorgeous sunsets. Oh my gosh, the lighting is a filmmaker's dream. And there is this undercurrent of peace and calmness and quiet. And yes, the birds are absolutely noisy. The cicadas are even louder. But that just adds to the ambiance of that you don't have people on the street heckling abuse at you. Not saying that happened to me in London, but you know, you can get close to it sometimes. In Brisbane, I can happily get on the ferry or the bus into the city centre, which costs 50 cents, by the way. I'm never going to shut up about that. That's 25p Brits. And then I can have a wander throughout the city quite calmly, not feel rushed, while you get this very meditative peace and quiet. It forces you to sit with yourself for a bit longer. With the question of, are you someone who needs to be driven by that noise of a much bigger city, or can you handle this? But for me, I feel like I've got the best of both worlds. The big city, but without feeling stressed and anxious about my next destination. And if that sounds like a bit of you, you're gonna love Brisbane. Number three, people are friendly, but not instantly close. It's not uncommon to go into a cafe, be standing on an escalator or in the elevator, alliteration, and someone might even strike up a conversation with you. But building a deep friendship, like you'd expect anywhere, takes a lot longer than you would think in Brisbane. A lot of people have this cliche in their brain of, oh, I'll move to Australia because Hollywood has shown me that Aussies are so, you know, chill, so friendly, so likable. I'm going to make mates in no time. But it actually takes a little bit longer than people expect, because friendliness and a genuine friendship are two very different things. And what I've realised, and I'm sure this is very similar for other cities, not just Brisbane to be fair, is that you need to really put the effort into those friendships and you need to come to people before they come to you. And Brisbane is very much that city. There's a lot on offer. There's free fitness classes. There's lots of clubs and societies and groups that meet up. Go out there, meet as many people as you can, because trust me, when that homesickness hits, it absolutely sucks. And having a tight friendship circle around you will make all the difference. And the thing about Brisbane is that relationships here, they really do grow very slowly. Then once you've built that friendship, they'll probably be a friend for life. Because one thing I can say about Brisbane people is that they are incredibly loyal. I have a huge announcement to make. You can probably tell from my outfit change that I'm wearing something very special. For the first time ever on this channel, I'm releasing my very first edition of merch. So what we've got, I've got this t-shirt. It's good vibes only, bad coffee never. We all know we love a coffee on this channel. So hence the t-shirt. I've also got this funky mug. You're probably thinking, Sam, the Aussie phrase is she'll be right. Well, when I made a video a little while back, I said the Aussie phrase was she'll be alright. I was bombarded with comments saying, it's not she'll be alright, Sam, it's she'll be right. And so I thought, well, why don't we just turn my version into a bit of an inside joke that you and I can share? There's some other goodies on the website, so go have an explore. I honestly don't know how long I'll be keeping this merch on the website for, so if you like the idea of owning the first edition merch of the channel, there's the QR code there or link in the description below. Back to it. Number 4, the lifestyle can lower your ambition at first. Now, this one's a bit uncomfortable to admit, especially because in the past I've mentioned how my income grew when I moved to Brisbane, how my goals became much easier to achieve, but this was all much later on once I got settled here. At first, there was a point where life got too nice. Okay, and that might sound ridiculous, but trust me on this. The constant gorgeous sunshine, the world's best coffee, the golden hour walks, the sunset picnics along the Brisbane River, and the far cheaper meals and brunches out, and the Australian dollar feeling like it goes much further than the British pound. You experience luxury like you've never experienced it before, and it tastes pretty good. And so I noticed my productivity edge dulling a little bit. My urgency softened. That urgency and hustle culture that I built in London of constantly pushing to make that next pound, it just loosened up. And for someone constantly chasing acting work, it was actually quite nice. But that kind of scared me, because then I was worried that I was losing my, semi-decent work ethic that I've built up for the last few years. But a few months later, the novelty started to wear off, but the gratitude for how incredible Brisbane is didn't wear off. The novelty was no longer there to distract me from doing my core work, but I could still switch the computer off at the end of a working day, go out into Brisbane, and still absolutely love the experience. And I fell into a new rhythm of work life in Brisbane, and it turns out my ambition, it does not feed off of the tension at all whatsoever. It feeds off of a stable and happy lifestyle, and that is something that I feel quite grateful to say I have here in Brisbane. Number 5, it is a perfect city if you're ready to settle. Now, the thought of settling absolutely scares some people, but whether you're in a relationship or not, Brisbane really is a brilliant city to ideally find the love of your life. Can't guarantee that will happen to you, of course, and then build that relationship, that career, and that life in, to me, seems like the most perfect family-friendly city there is. And the hometown I'm originally from is Cheltenham, which at one point I think was one of the most family-friendly towns in the UK. And there's a moment where you realise that Brisbane isn't just easy to live in, it's designed for staying in. And that is brilliant if you're looking for just a bit more security in life. But even if you're still figuring things out, maybe you haven't found the love of your life, maybe you're single, that's fine. Brisbane is one of those really good places to find like-minded people like you who also want to settle down a bit. But the next thing, no one can prepare you for, because number 6, the distance from everything else on planet Earth is very tough. Now, unless you're from somewhere like Papua New Guinea or New Zealand, Australia is pretty much as far away from the entire world as it gets. Yes, you're much closer to cities like Sydney or, the Gold Coast, but the UK, Europe, America, Canada, a lot of Asia, oh my word. Just be prepared to be sitting on a flight for 16 hours or more. It's a long, long way. So much so that if I think about it for too long, I fall into a deep existential crisis. trips are longer, flights cost way more, and spontaneity shrinks before your eyes. Then again, you're in Australia, one of the most vast, expansive continents in the world, with some of the best travel you may ever experience. Yes, it costs me 2,000 Australian dollars to get a return flight back to my home country, but hopping into my second-hand Toyota Yaris and driving down to a different part of Australia, that's much cheaper. Especially as the fuel here is way cheaper. I think I paid $1.55 per litre. That's this much in UK money. So look, apart from keeping in touch with your loved ones and making a tight friendship circle in Brisbane, I can't give you any advice that will get rid of that homesickness or that feeling of distance, apart from getting out there and getting involved in this amazing city. But while the continents might feel much further away in Australia, this industry does not. Because number 7, the acting industry feels so much closer. This is massive because the acting industry in some parts of the world sometimes isn't as supportive and as friendly as you would hope it to be. Because every time I meet someone in the industry here, whether it's at an audition, at an event, at a screening of something, people are so ridiculously friendly. They are not uptight, they are friendly, they're supportive and genuinely helpful. Things like, oh, you've just moved to Australia, let me introduce you to this person. Who knows this person? Oh, you should come to this event I'm hosting. Let's go for a coffee, we should talk about this sometime. I've never really experienced that back in the UK personally, and maybe that's because no one liked me in the UK, I don't know. But in Australia, I'm finding it really easy to get along with people and make connections in my work life. And there's something really nice about that, because we spend so much time working that to have supportive people around you, it just makes that work a lot more effortless. Number 8, you'll question your identity more than you expect. You'll start meeting very different people. You'll be experiencing a very different climate and a very different pace of life. And with spare time and our brains wandering off, you start thinking about, who you want to become. Back home, friends and family might decide this for you, but you move to Brisbane and you realise that you can kind of reinvent yourself. For example, I didn't have a great relationship with alcohol when I was back in the UK, but I moved to Brisbane and suddenly I could introduce myself as someone not who, has just given up drinking alcohol, but as someone who doesn't drink. And then no one peer pressures me into drinking. Whereas back in the UK, I would get peer pressured a lot. You can join the groups that you want to join. You can build the hobbies and do the things you want to do. You can work on the projects you want to work on without anyone back where you're from saying to you, oh, why are you doing that? You're a bit weird. And you start thinking, how far can I push this? Could I maybe get that promotion? Could I maybe work my way into this new industry? Could I become friends with this person? And Brisbane answers, yes, you absolutely can, mate. But that rebuilding phase is also quite uncomfortable, because number 9, Brisbane changes your relationship with time. Time behaves completely differently here. Days stretch out, weeks go by so quickly because you're having so much fun here. Whereas back in the UK, time felt like it was just dragging on. And at first, when I came to Brisbane, I panicked a bit, like I'm falling behind, like time is going so fast because I'm trying to make the most of traveling. And then you're thinking, where on earth are these months going? And then when am I going to schedule time to go back home to the UK to see those people? But then I realised something quietly reassuring about life in Brisbane. Progress is subtle but steady. Yes, you might be taking more time out to work on your health and fitness and try the incredible coffee here, but no, you're not falling behind, because then you look back at the end of the year you've spent in Brisbane and you realise you've achieved so much more than you thought you did, because actually it's a really good environment to achieve those goals. That patience teaches you to zoom out a bit more, and once you do, rushing around like a headless chicken stops becoming the norm. And look, if at any point in this video you thought, oh, that sounds quite good, then hit that like button so other people can see. Number 10, you'll save a lot of money. This part is for you if you've lived in a very expensive place in the past. Look, I've got to be upfront. Brisbane is not a cheap city to live in by any means. In fact, buying a house here is astronomical right now. But living here, in my opinion, is far more affordable than living in the UK, even in some smaller, quieter towns in the UK. Our rent is so much cheaper and we get a much bigger place. In fact, for about £100 more a month that we were paying for a tiny one-bed flat in London, we actually now have a much bigger place with a back garden, a garage to put our car in, things like that. You know, just a level of life I thought I would never be here experiencing, and I'm not making crazy money. Public transport, trains, ferries, buses, they're all 50 cents in Brisbane for one trip, so you're just saving a stupid amount of money on that. And even things like my Amazon purchases are cheaper here. I find that the Australian dollar goes a lot further than the British pound. But then again, I must be honest, in Brisbane, I spend a lot more money on groceries, on alcohol buying for, you know, my wife and family and friends, and obviously on air travel. If I want to, you know, travel to a different city in Australia quickly, that costs quite a lot of money. But honestly, with all the things I've said, it's kind of worth those extra expenses. But if you want to find out how safe Australia actually is to live in, then go watch this video here where I explain it all. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.